After a thrilling opening pair of rounds in Sonoma, California and Austin, Texas, drivers in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League make their way to the Eastern Time Zone with a trip to virtual Sebring in iRacing. Central Florida hosts round 3 of 7 of this highly competitive sim racing championship, featuring 40 of the fastest North American drivers in the iRacing simulator. This racetrack has seen many changes since it held its first race in 1950, but its concrete surfaces are the bones of the old Hendricks Army Airfield. Several feet thick, those surfaces remain largely unchanged, but have weathered with time. Today, this battle on the 3.7-mile, 17-turn airport course marks the last race of the championship until July of this year, the beginning of a short summer break. Today, it's 2 25-minute races, where to survive the melee, you have to, as they say, respect the bumps. Hi, everybody, and welcome to GT World. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined, as always, by Justin Prince. Justin, welcome aboard. Round 3 of 7 of this intense esports championship. We've seen 2 drivers sweep the opening 2 rounds of the championship, but we're getting closer and closer to the halfway point, and though drop rounds have been calculated, we have a tie at the top of the standings.
Yes, indeed. Things have been mightily close when it comes to championship. You have 2 drivers who have really stood out so far. Thomas Bellman, Michael Yanni. And so far, those 2 drivers have been the most consistent at each of the tracks. They haven't had any issues in the races so far, and we've seen some dominating speed out of them in general. That, in turn, sees them miles ahead of some of the others in those standings, and that's going to really see things where a lot of these drivers, like Michael Polasek in particular, need to make up a lot of ground, even though they've had some decent top 10 speed and top 5s for the most part, and others like Andre Castro and Bryce Rodriguez in that mix. They're going to have to make up a lot of ground, already down 17 points.
Yeah, Brendan Hawken in that number 98 was really strong at Circuit of the Americas as well. He'll be a driver to watch here today as he claws his way forward. Camden Hibbett is no stranger to Sebring, though he's only 7th in the standings. Another driver that was a standout at Circuit of the Americas. Of course, we mentioned Sebring and its significance as a racetrack here on the SRO calendar. It's occupied a spring date for some time, but 3.7 miles. This is where we go racing in 2 weeks, Justin, and it sounds like you'll be there as well, so excited about that. But let's have a look at our Continental Track preview. It's a fast racetrack, very flat, but it does have a lot of texture, Justin.
A lot of texture, a lot of bumps that can send you going around this track. It's been around since 1950 after all. But first things first, major passing opportunities, 3 into 4. Lots of opportunities for stack-ups during the opening start. Then it builds momentum all the way up to where turn 7 is for the hairpin, before there's plenty of opportunities for people to dive before that quick flick around to turn 8. Then you roll your way through turn 10 up through 13 to Tower. Tower going to be one of the opportunities for drivers to pick up some drafting speed before they make their way up towards 15 and 16. That is Le Mans in that section that sets you up perfectly for the Ullman Straight. And once you go down that straightaway, that's your best slingshot opportunity for passes before you go up to Sunset Bend and be able to battle things out down the front straightaway.
Yeah, Sunset Bend named because in the evening you get a beautiful summer glow there from the setting sun, but we'll be racing in the daytime in the morning here. There's a look at the GR86 Cup car. We've talked about it at length this season. It is kitted out for racing, but starts life as a production Toyota GR86. Continental tires, Alcon brakes, JRI adjustable shocks, Segra 3D printed components, Toyota GR Aero. It is a weapon built for the racetrack here. That set of 6-speed sequential transmission will be using the top gears in it here. We'll be seeing speeds nearly 125 miles an hour off into Sunset Bend, as you mentioned. And it's a great, great race car. And we're going to get to see this do battle again in the real world when we head to Sebring in 2 weeks' time. Let's head down to the racetrack because qualifying is underway, and the starting lineup is going to be an important place here because turn 1 can bite here at Sebring, Justin. So you got to get qualified up in the front because you don't want to have to dodge and weave your way through any potential messes up here.
It can be chaotic, to say the very least, on the send up through turn 1 to start because so many drivers have the opportunity to end up clipping the grass and then getting stacked up, to say the very least. So it's important to be able to stay out of the chaos, out of the mess. And so far, qualifying, 3:10 separating the top 3 alone, about the top 10 so far in the 2-minute 25-second bracket. Michael Yanni looking solid, but Bellman has been the one setting the pace around the racetrack this week so far.
It'll be a relief for the drivers to see that there is no rain in the forecast here this weekend. Of course, we saw at Circuit of the Americas a deluge of rain in the first race of 2, and then it was drying for the second race. So challenging conditions, lots of slipping and sliding, some track limits violations. Those won't be coming today, because if you find yourself off track at Sebring, you've typically gone a little too far. Yanni is in second, as you pointed out, but Thomas Belleman, the driver that swept the rounds at Sonoma, looking strong again here, and he's just begun his final qualifying lap. He's still a 10th up on Yanni, at least for the time being.
Yeah, just picked up some extra time actually last time by a couple 100ths after an off track on the second time around. Bellman's been pushing it every single race when it comes to his pace. That time got an off track, and it looks like that's going to see him reset.
So he will head back to the pit lane. Another driver, and our previous champion, Michael Polasek, right now scored third.
Yeah, Michael Polasek so far throughout this championship has not been as strong as last season, at least. It was similar to that last campaign, though, as well, when it comes to Michael Polasek, where he had some struggles to start, then had that dominating stretch the rest of the way, where he was no further than second in the finishing order all the way up to the checker flag of the campaign. I'm curious if it ends up being a similar type of season for Michael Polasek, where he starts to pick things up around now. This is where he picked things up last campaign after an exciting finish at Coda to start his dominating pace. I'm expecting Polasek to really pick up the tempo in race conditions here today.
Yeah, he's certainly going to be one to watch in that number 45, the G-Force car. Easy to spot from a distance away. Other drivers up in the top 5 right now. Andre Castro in the 34. He's just begun his final qualifying lap. Really fast run through turn 1 of the bumps here. These cars are pretty compliant over those bumps, but the curbs in this opening sector, turns 3, 4, and 5, as you mentioned, we'll see drivers climbing all over these things. You have to hit them just right to avoid slipping and sliding around like we see Castro doing.
Yeah, he's really pushing the limits right now with this race car. All over the right side of the racetrack. Nearly got some off tracks alone. Already the last 2 laps has clipped the grass and has gone off the circuit. And that's one of the major things. It's so easy to pick up incident points if you aren't too careful around here, trying to push speed, especially with so many drivers pushing the limits on where they go in terms of some of these arcs. It's so easy to also lose time if you don't attack the track. And of course, respect how the bumps really bump you around down through the front straightaway sections.
Camden Hibbett out of Ohio in the number 32, a driver that we pointed out was very strong at Circuit of the Americas, especially in race number 2. Currently scored 9th, 15-year-old. I think he actually just turned 16 as of recent, so he will be P9 here in the end of his qualifying effort. Seemed less than enthused about that, I have to be honest, as Paul Darling jumped up to 4th in the last couple of moments here, and lots of drivers shifting and shuffling on the order. Yiling Huang in the number 28 up to 5th place as he jumps off the racetrack. So lots of drivers improving in the last seconds here in qualifying.
Yeah, Jake Cummings said coming into the week, he was looking to keep from sliding the tires everywhere today. When it came to some of the discussion amongst some of the competitors, so far Cummings towards the bottom of the pylon, though, in the Texport Racing Machine, 226s, no improvement. He's not going to be happy with that qualifying run, is second off the pole time.
Yeah, it'll only be 24th best. Matteo Scaptura, one of the new drivers here this week in the number 083. Down in 39th, and there's a handful of new drivers that have been filtered in that were in the qualifying lineup here, Justin, but they're learning very quickly after being accepted into the series this week how fast everybody is, because 3 of the 4 new drivers are the last 3 drivers on the running order. Tadas Litkis, the other, is only 34th quick. So, again, all the setups are the same. They're all running a fixed setup, but just goes to show you how impressive the rest of this field is, that these new drivers, though they're qualified and they should be quick, getting up to pace with the rest of this field has proven challenging.
Yeah, the speed of this field, we were talking about this before the start of today's broadcast, has really picked up. There's been a lot of upward pressure, I feel, amongst some of the top runners this season compared to past campaigns where we're seeing a lot of separation amongst the top 2 or 3. Now it's any one of 6, 7, 8 drivers really who can win any given race, and especially with the shorter races, it puts a lot more emphasis on short run pace compared to keeping the tires cool for the long run. And we've seen that really come into play all throughout the season.
Thomas Belleman will earn pole for race 1 of the night. Remember that this is a 25-minute race formula here, so sort of following what the real world does, where we've got 2 races in one weekend, but we're doing them all in one day, all within an hour, 2 25s back-to-back, where the end of race 1 is going to set your grid for the start of race number 2. Now, a 25-minute race around Sebring with about a 2-minute 25, 2-minute 26-second lap time is about 11 laps. That's what we're going to have here in a moment's time. But, Justin, thoughts on this race? Because the weather here is pretty warm. The track's pretty toasty. The question I have to you is how much is tire management going to be a factor? You mentioned Jake Cummings was a bit concerned about sliding the tires. How big of a deal is it for drivers to keep their stuff cool and in good condition for these 25-minute races?
I mentioned that with the shorter races, it's not as much tire saving compared to a 1-hour race like last season, but it's still important in terms of making sure you don't absolutely fry the tires, because if in the first few laps, that's what really sets the tone on how much your rubber is going to settle on in. Because in those first couple laps, you're pushing, you're trying to set the tone, tires aren't fully up to temp. But if you end up pushing them past their limit on the sim, you end up getting to where they're over burned up. You end up sliding the rears around. You end up being much looser. That costs you time. So for some of these top drivers, it's about being fast, but not too fast.
And keeping the car on the road, especially in turn number 1. Look how wide that entry is. I always talk about these big wide entries. Similar to Circuit of the Americas, it is a siren song. You see that track open up wide, you think, oh man, you can get 12, 15 cars side by side down there. But on corner exit, things narrow up significantly there, from about 8 or 9 lanes down to 3 or just 4. And then you get into turns 3, 4, 5, and they narrow down even further. So you got to figure out how the filter works here, because you're not going to win the race in turn 1, but as they say, you can certainly lose it down there. And then the first run to the hairpin, this is where we see challenges at times, especially on the opening lap, because you've made it through turn 1, you've made it through sector 1. Okay, great. Now you've got a passing opportunity that can bite you down here. So there's a lot of trouble spots on the opening lap, but once you get rolling, this racetrack is a fantastic place for racing. Let's roll through our starting lineup here in just a moment's time, because we've got a full field here, 40 entrants for our 3rd round of the season. And on row number 1, it's going to be Thomas Belleman and Michael Polasek, 2 of our championship contenders, right on the pointy end of the field. In row number 2, it's Michael Yanni, who swept at Sonoma. Paul Darling in the Soul Spec car starts in position number 4. Then in row number 3, it's Yiling Huang in the MAG Performance car. Andre Castro in the Team Era number 34 rolls off in 6th. Logan McKenzie, Blake Townend share the 4th row. And it'll be Christian Menzies and Camden Hibbett sharing row number 5, Justin.
Then row number 6, that follows the Mabano machine. Brendan Hawk and Clay Morris will start alongside of the Cars machine. Nick Yanni's next, the PT Motorsports machinery, followed by Kevin Rold in 14th. Starting off behind them, it's Mauricio Lozano outside. Brett Gardner in one of the Tech Sport entries. Miguel Colon will start at the next spot. He'll start alongside the 6th, that's Cole Hooper in 18th. Yanni Lin returns once again here today from 19th. Russell Soto rounds out your top 20, Kyle.
In 21st place, it's Nate Stewart in the number 5 Jim Beaver eSports car. John Lausen starts 22nd in the number 77. Michael Montello rolls off 23rd in the 65 car. Jake Cummings had a terrible tail end of the Kona round, got turned around on the last lap. He'll look to right the ship, starting from 24th in his number 97 Tech Sport Racing car. Alex Penn in the 25th spot in the number 22. And Edwin Onofre, he joined us at Coda in the real world and is a frequent visitor of the Twitch show SRO Levels on Wednesday night. His Tech Sport Racing number 96 starts in 26th spot. Andrew Sharp starts 27th. Aaron Smith 28th, with Major Monts of Ice and Nicholas Sudik rounding out row 15.
Chris Wentz will start in 31st spot, then in the ERA machine. It's Ian Brown alongside in 32nd. David Schofield starts off alongside Thaddeus Kiss, who will start 34th, one of the new drivers in the field. Anthony Montello will start alongside Charles Wimbley, way far back for the Maverick Motorsports car. Then it's a flurry of newer drivers. David Mancaretta will start in 37th. Scapatura will start 38th. And Zachary Cullen rounds out the entry list today in 39th position. Those drivers towards the tail, more than 2 seconds off the pole.
They've got a lot of work to do to make their way through this field, and just to survive just their first round. Set your sights reasonably here. It is a big field and a short race. We have 2 of them here today in round 3 of the championship. If you're looking forward to the next round, it will take place at Virginia International Raceway on July 12th. But the Toyota GR Cup North America Series races again for real in 2 weeks' time, May 16th to 18th at Sebring International Raceway, right where we're doing this race here today. Final thoughts here, Justin, before we go racing. Well, other than turn 1, what are the trouble spots?
Trouble spot definitely is going to be the hairpin, I think, for example, in turn 7. Lots of people I've seen have stacked up there and got into crashes in that section. You also have, I think, the potential for chaos up the Omen Straight. Once drivers drop the Omen Straight, going to open things up for a lot of drivers as they battle up to the gears.
The battle on the bumps for Toyota GR Cup North America eSports. It is round 3 of 7. Thomas Belleman looking to repeat his Sonoma success, this time at Sebring. And the flagger has the green flag in hand, and it's time to go racing. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Sebring. In the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League, Belleman immediately shoots to the right to get a wide arc into turn 1. The field fans out 3 and 4 wide behind him into the opening corner. It's tight quarters back there with Menzies in the number 95, but I think so far the front of the field gets through with no trouble.
Field playing it nice and careful for now, although it's 3 wide at a couple sections. How about some 3 wide diving? That didn't work out well at all. What a save, though, as everyone scatters to the grass. That's 5 wide in the grass. But Paul Darling has cooked his tires for that contact.
Yeah, that was Paul Darling that got turned around, but he somehow kept it straight, and it's just going to be more chaos behind them. There's Camden Hibbett in the center of a 3-wide sandwich. That's Brennan Hawken on the outside. They've all gotten held up trying to dodge and weave around that spinning car. I can't believe we didn't turn more around sideways there, but it is just a hornet's nest into turn 7.
And a lot of these drivers trying to clear by slowdowns from cutting the course still, like Menzies who's been able to clear it off here. That's really separated the top 3 as a result by at least 5-6 car lengths with that separation. A lot of these other cars, meanwhile, they're just trying to gain as many spots as possible, things to try and single file out. You have drivers still like Darwin on the recovery. You have Nick Yanni trying to make ground up. You have to be able to try and claw your way forward or not do that.
Oh, a couple cars torn up in this one. A few cars. Actually, Edwin Onofre is one of them. And I didn't exactly see how this began, but let's have another look. Maybe we can pinpoint this. 3 wide. And it was actually, I think it was that Russell Soto that got turned around, and then Alex Penn and Onofre get into him. And upon driving away, that's where the rest of the damage happened, and it was Soto in the 50 that got turned around.
Yeah, I think he hit the curbs too hard. Quite simply, on the suspension. It basically bounced like a pogo stick and snapped him around the field and caused stacking up 3-4 wide. But the rest of the field have already burned more than 2 minutes off the clock. Single file up the straightaway. Thomas Belleman nearly breaking away for the draft already.
Yeah, he would really like to do what he did at Sonoma and keep anyone from getting to him. But Yanni and Polasek, they were last year's front runners all year long in the championship. They're not going to let him just drive away if they got anything to say about that. But lap 1 complete. Belleman leads the way, then Yanni, Polasek, Castro. He's got a little bit of a train behind him. Yuling Huang, who's got some nose damage. And I would only be concerned about this from an aero perspective here. You're going fast enough that damage is going to hurt you in a straight line. And you see, well, he's going to go to the inside. Won't hurt the cornering performance all that much. A little contact there. More contact.
A lot of contact. They're still not done. What a save by Castro. And for obvious reasons, trying to play aggressive defending. One's not making it too many friends here. That 28 machine has pushed a lot when it comes to that dive up through turn 3. And I think some of these competitors have quite made it clear they'd rather it be calmer and cooler to start things off. They lost a ton of time, aggressive blocking to the hairpin.
Yeah, now Castro is going to be upset too, driving in the rearview mirror after a lot of contact between these two, and I'm sure race control is watching this as well. You don't want to get yourself in the ire of race control this early in the race. Trouble for Brennan Hawken at turn 7.
It's not good. One of your top drivers so far this season. It's been chaotic, quite simply. Open the door and There were two cars in the middle of the corner, right where he started arcing it. And that's what happens when you don't play defensive. Some drivers see the opportunity and will dive on through a 28th-ish position now for Hawken.
Yeah, now that's after starting in 11. So the starting position wasn't amazing, and now the finish is going to look a lot less good than that. We go back to our battle for fourth here because Christian Menzies is now caught Yulin Huang in that 28, who cannot seem to get by Castro, and they've already seemed to have given up working together to catch those front three, so it's game on here for fourth.
Yeah, we've seen the frustrations already from Castro with how aggressive the car has been so far. But it's going to be the matter of how does Menzies play things out. His satellite race machine doing his solid job, keeping up line step in this draft, already up +3. As there's the reason the draft is so big, you have to play defensively, get that preferred line if you want to try and hold on. Your contact again.
Young tried to turn in and just could not. The 34 car was there. Well, that's all happening. By the way, remember, Bellman had a 1 second lead. That is gone. The top three are now covered by a blanket here with 20 minutes to go. So game on for the front runners as well. But they've got about 5 seconds to burn up before this battle, and they continue to fight hard for that fourth spot.
The lead is more contact yet again. Bumper cars. And again, not appreciating the contact. Going to be Castro in that case. Look at McKenzie taking advantage. Now everybody trying to pass that 28 machine.
Yeah, that was a good call there by McKenzie. He had a little bit of overlap, or could have gotten overlap on the 95, but thought better about just jamming the car into that position. It would have been a surprise move. It probably would have been his fault had there been some incidents there. Cole Hooper was really impressive at COTA in his first event, and right now runs 12th. 9 Mile Falls, Washington, 21-year-old in that blue and black car here, running in just outside the top 10 at the moment.
Bad for Hooper, up +5 or so far in the race. He's just been marching his way forward, and that's one of the things with Cole Hooper. He's usually an oval racer, but it's one of those who's picked up experience on the roadside, where this style of racing attracts a lot of those who do well in, say, a stock car on the service or a late model in a couple of cases. In the case of Hooper, he's got good rhythm with this car because it's got a good sense of draft, but also has a good level of grip once you are able to get used to the car and be able to drive at a track like this, and that's why I think he's done so well. Now he's going to take the opportunity to make this pass.
That's by Yiling Huang in the 28, who's now losing more and more spots. That damage even more severe than it was when the race began. Just to the outside, Clay Morris in that 48. And Kevin Rold in the 17. No action from race control on any of the incidents so far, so we'll stay racing at the moment. It is 5 seconds from third back to fourth place.
Yeah, some intense battling all throughout this one at this point. It's not going to be great in the points category for the 28 machine, but some of the others still moving forward as we see some of the pass attempts. Clay Morris just took away the inside line, and at this point, the rhythm is absolutely destroyed on that 28 machine. They're over pushing the corners, they're struggling to get the preferred line. They have damage on the front nose. It's not looking great there, as there's the leapfrog that I was expecting pretty soon with the draft. How about a move by Menzies to clear? That was close.
Clear barely, maybe by an inch by the time they left turn one, but he got the spot, and right behind him, McKenzie, Camden Hibbett, and Paul Darling. Remember, we saw Paul get almost looped around early, and it was just a factor that he had enough cars around him to straighten him back out, that he didn't get looped in front of the field. So take that win when you can. 32-year-old out of Royal Oak, Michigan, and he's dropped a couple of spots on that start, but has earned some of those back.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot last season when we seen Darling towards the front of the field. Well respected on the service with Solpeck Precision Racing. He's raced a long time, usually is smart with his moves, very strategic, usually keeps things cool. And so far, even though he just lost some time because the send attempt with Nick Yanni, he's been very efficient on making the recovery, just picking his spots one by one to be able to march back forward and make up a lot of this lost time.
Yeah, Nick Yanni now losing a spot to Blake Townend. If you think back to Circuit of the Americas a couple of weeks ago, this 57 had a pretty miserable round. It was lap 1, race 1, where he slipped in the paint and went for a pretty wild ride, lost all the positions he qualified for, so he really would like to just right the ship and get some good points on the board here this week. And after starting in 8th place, he's also gotten held up by that slip and slide we saw in the opening lap, and just looking to rebound slightly.
You know, Blake as a whole has speed, though, in his car. He knows how to drive this racetrack. We've seen him usually top 10 speed all throughout the season. I think at this point, he's just trying to ride in the pace of the field, see where things fare out, try and move ahead where the spots open up like some of the others have so far, and go for there. He's not usually one of the over-aggressive drivers.
No, he's not. He's following Nick Yanni, who is again one of those PT Autosport by Copeland Motorsports cars. Now, Copeland Motorsports just went back to victory lane for the first time in 2025, just last weekend at Circuit of the Americas. That was with Jackson Bell, son of Townsend Bell. And so they're back in victory lane. Or Zach Hollingshead piloting a livery that looks exactly like this in the Real World Series, and we'll see that again at Sebring in a couple of weeks' time. All the while at the front of the field, there is a battle for the lead going on between Belleman and Yanni, but I don't know how volatile it is. These three seem pretty content to sort of ride the line. They're all going to earn very solid points at the moment if they keep working together, and they have 14 minutes till they need to sort out which one crosses the stripe first.
I think Yanni's kind of in the mindset of, if I go for the send too early, Belleman's going to try and make a pass back the next lap, and it opens up a can of worms. I think at this point, Yanni's just, for now at least, seeing how the run goes, waiting for an opportunity to strike later on, just taking his time. We see this a lot in this style of racing, even though it's a sprint right now in 25 minutes. It's the matter of, if you open up the chance for a pass back too early, you might lose your opportunity to win the race or show your hand too early. And mind you, if they get racy for first and second here, Michael Polasek can open up the door to pass right on by them once they zip on by, and that's what I think he's concerned about too.
Yeah, I think that's a great point there, as Polasek is right there, can pick the pocket from both of them. A little battle deeper in the field here. This is for 15th, 16th, 17th. At the 28 continuing to drop down the order. The back up to McKenzie v. Castro v. Menzies. This one is getting pretty spicy here, with Paul Darling watching all of it from in 8th place.
Yeah, a little bit argy-bargy off the grass, a little bit there with McKenzie and Hibbett. Darling, I think, is just at this point where he can just watch this all fare out. Watch where the drivers play out the action and try and wait for someone to make a mistake. And at this point, McKenzie's on the back foot with what he's got momentum-wise. If Darling wants, he can maybe build things up for the next lap or two to make a pass of his own. But they're not done fighting at the head of this group yet again. Good exit by the 95. Castro doesn't go defense because he knows the run's not there, but Hibbett's going to try and pass them both 3 wide.
Oh, this isn't going to work. This is tough math here into the final corner on the racetrack. 3 abreast there, and now Menzies pulls through. Castro and Hibbett are the only ones left door to door, but Castro runs wide, and here comes McKenzie now to the inside.
Yeah, yet again, good switchback to be able to cross back up, take advantage of Castro being slowed up. Oh, they're getting door-to-door contact. Menzies didn't go up as much as they thought, and Castro just goes 3 wide again.
Oh, that was a beautiful move there by Castro. Right on board with Hibbett here. Watch that heart rate climb up 115, 116. After watching him race in plenty of league races, I know that he can be in a battle at 90. So the fact that he's over 115 BPM right now, he's in the thick of battle here in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to settle this pretty quickly. They continue to cost themselves time to the leaders, obviously. 9 seconds back, you're not going to catch up. But they're racing like this is for the lead, with the way they're battling things out up at the front. Going to be hard to be able to make the move to the outside like Castro's thinking, though. Darling also on the back foot. Just got to hold on to the grip as things get single file on the groove.
It really feels like there's 2 categories of cars right now, the top 3 than everybody else, because they're just line astern working together at the moment. Well, everyone from 4th on back is just absolutely scrapping like it is for the lead, like you pointed out. But it's as high as they're going to get now. They're not going to run down the leaders from 10 seconds back, so this is what they've got left to fight for. Darling a little wide, to hop the curb there. Blake Townend inside the top 10. hunting gearboxes ahead of him.
Yeah, and this is a prime opportunity now with the side-by-sides to say, okay, I'm just going to take a spot while they're not expecting it. Like Townend's trying to poke to the outside, for example, here to try and force the momentum back from Yanni. It's one of those types of moments where you see side-by-side, multiple rows deep like that, where you can take advantage of one of the drivers that's not going to make the pass and make a pass yourself as they're slowed on up.
Big curb jump at turn 16, dropping tires in the dirt on corner exit. Not a lot of volatility here at the moment. A little bit deeper in the field, Nick Sudik, Brandon Hawken, we saw him get looped around at turn 7 a little while ago. He's made his way back up 3 positions. He's going to hunt for a 4th here to the inside of Sudik.
Yeah, it's still not going to be a good points haul at all, to say the least, for race 1. But I think the competitors know, like Sudik, from based on his experience, Hawken's got speed. At this point, try not to hold up. The downside is if you're Sudik, you let somebody go, someone else says, oh, thank you very much, you're letting me go too? Like Michael Montello in that case, and ends up costing you time. But Brandon Hawken still going to have a big recovery drive in race number 2 to at least score some solid points for this round.
Just needs to get whatever he can. Again, we talked about how competitive this championship is. You get 2 drop races, which we haven't done before, but those are already calculated now. It's just dropping your 2 worst results from any individual races this year. But you're still going to have to be incredibly consistent otherwise, and you can't afford this early in the year to have your mulligans already panned out for you. So that's something to consider here. Clay Morris, Logan McKenzie flanking Townend down into turn 7.
Townend just pointed the defensive line as there's a bit of a slide up in front of them, I believe, around their group, and Kevin rolled. And everyone else able to hold on as they line things back up. And I think at this point, the pressure's still on, at the very least, if you're Menzies. Because Castro, we know with his experience, his road course race experience from Chicago, he's raced in NASCAR Xfinity Series competition before, he's going to be wanting the spot back. He usually runs farther into the corner. He's been close to the contact each and every corner entry as Hibbett is just watching in the wings.
McKenzie's around. He's gone off at Tower Turn, and he seems to be out of the race. Let's see what happened to the 4 car. Was there some contact here from Clay Morris? Turns in, and yes. Ooh, big hit too.
Can't tell if he just turned too much in as the wiper blades go off for whatever reason, or if there was just a squeeze. There was a bit of contact in the first place there, and yeah, trying to squeeze him alongside the curbing, and that causes the contact to snap him to the wall and send him to pit road.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Unfortunate end there. We've now got 2 or 3 drivers off track. Edwin Onofre, Major Montsevice had an issue. Russell Soto had an issue. They're all back on the road. At the front of the field, though, 8 minutes to go. Yanni has a look to the inside here of Belleman, but they seem still pretty content to play the game at the front.
Still content. They still have 7 minutes to go. I think the go time is at about a lap or 2. They've only turned 7 completed laps so far. So there is time to plot and plan still. It's almost like a go-kart race. You can almost compare this to, where you know that you want to make the move, but if you wait too long, you cost yourself. If you go too early, you cost yourself.
Oh, trouble.
It's not like this where it's, oh, big contact, Lynn, and multiple others spinning.
As John Lausen was the other car that got looped around, and it was just a ping pong ball there in the center of it all. Watch the orange and blue number 30, gets on the brakes a little late, and there were just cars bouncing all over the track. Lausen kind of came back off the road and back on. Watch him on the left side, or on driver's right. He gets in the grass, comes back across, tags Lynn. That was a mess.
Yeah, there's no traction for those Continentals when you put your right side tires to the grass like that. Just snap them around under braking like that can happen. That really checks things up there. 2 to 3 wide in the first place. It was not pretty.
No, it's going to cost them quite a bit. So race control has been a little busier, and some updates here. The 4 and the 48, that was the crash over at turn 13. That is under investigation. And already there has been resolution to that, and the 48 car has been issued a 5-second penalty for that issue. So that would be Clay Morris in the blue car here.
Yeah. Unfortunate. But it's expected when you have some of the contact. It's a tough thing, even with the squeeze. It's a tough thing if you end up not being alongside the curbing or not fully in the line. That can happen. Look at your race leaders yet again. Still 5.5 minutes or so to work with here, as you can see just how much the bumps are rattling around that suspension.
Yeah.
Rattling around those front struts and around that double wishbone with the multi-link on the back. These cars taking some big hops.
Yeah, it's big hops for sure. And a little bit of damage to the right side of the one. Did we see this before? I think the right side has seen some scrapes and thinks, here comes Yanni popping out of line. He's not going to go for it yet, but we're down to coming to 2 laps to go. Right rear quarter panel has seen some contact with something. Was it a wall? Was it a car? Not sure, but I think Yanni's car looks pretty clean.
Yeah, I think it looks okay. I'm not concerned if there's scrapes that might have been just from either the bumps themselves, just on the front straightaway wall, but Polasek not as close as I think he would want to be. Yanni, again, is, I think, giving some early lift still before the braking zone to make sure he doesn't get too close or take a late lunge and end up putting himself in a position where he has to go for the pass with so much overspeed. Now it's going to be a matter of time, though. With only a couple laps to work with, you're going to have to go pretty soon. Yanni needs to sort things out if he wants to try and make this work.
Yeah, these drivers are not teammates. They're not working together on the white flag lap, I can promise you that. What we're about to see is a chess match played by 3 different players all at the same time, coming from 3 different directions. It's going to get pretty wild once we start throwing moves around, and how each driver reacts to the next is going to be pretty fascinating to watch. Michael Polasek has the opportunity to watch what's going on. Here comes Yanni to the inside for the race lead here.
Seeing the opportunity dive through as they come towards Le Mans, and Bellman just lets them have it. There's a huge opportunity to get that draft. Once again, though, up the straightaway, hence why Bellman says, you know what, have it. I'm just going to draft right by you once I can.
19-year-old out of Hillsborough, California. Nice big run here up on the back straightaway. Yanni's not going to go defensive. Belleman's not going to go for the pass. This is all the strategy here. Do you want to be leading on the last lap on this back straightaway? I don't know, because how strong the draft is. You see Polasek here going for a move.
Going to be difficult to say the least, but Polasek doing exactly what I just talked about earlier on. Once you start at the battle, he's going to jump through and take advantage for that second spot. Now he's side by side with Bellman getting that crossover.
2 laps to go. And you can't sit here battling for P2 for very long. It'll give Yanni the opportunity to drive away, but Polasek slots cleanly into second place. Bellman from first to third at about a half a lap.
It's going to take the full lap to close up, likely now to Yanni, maybe half a lap, because of how much they separated out by 4 car lengths just about. Remember, even though Bellman was able to pull away a bit, it closed up significantly. They are battling aggressively still back here. Hibbett had door-to-door contact to get himself past Castro initially. Now has to play defense with 2 lines. Paul Darling trying to go side by side for a top 5.
Yeah, but Darling clobbered the curb on the left there, kind of bunny hopped across the racetrack. Slots in behind Menzies in the 95. Then it's Nick Yanni, Andre Castro fighting back. Here comes Blake Townend in that orange and black 57 to the outside. So this is going to be a battle here for position. For 4th place, big send from Nick Yanni into turn 7 up the inside of Darling.
Oh, that's a little bit of aggressive movement. Slid the tires on the way to the contact. Castro just about turned Darling for good measure also. You can tell the urgency level has picked up with it being the end of the race. These drivers not playing it careful anymore. If there's a chance for a send, they're going to take it right now.
Yeah, in Nick Yanni's defense, if Darling didn't want a car who was inside there and didn't want to brake any later, he should have gone defensive. He left the door open for the pass, and that's what Nick Yanni took advantage of. Muscled him a little bit wide, but That's all part of the game that they're playing here. You just don't want to see front to rear contact. A little bit of side by side. Stewards will look past that, but you don't want to be knocking people out of the way. Up at the front of the field, turn 15 and 16. Coming to the white flag next time by. Yanni, Polasek, Belleman, your top three.
Now it's going to be the question, who tries to move next? I think it's still too far back unless you go for a dive, an aggressive dive at that in the sunset. Polasek might have a chance for it though. Good pickup at the end of the gear at 122 miles an hour to go side by side for the lead.
And here comes 45 and 23, door to door through Sunset Bend and back up onto the front straightaway. It's going to be an all-out brawl here at Sebring with 1 lap to go, and we're almost 3 wide for the top spot.
No space for Belleman with a white flag lap. Now the top thing's going to be the arc.
Oh.
Yanni trying to push Polasek to be able to get his own line. And Polasek forced to reset. Belleman got blocked off again, but still has the chance for a set.
Oh, he thought about keeping that overlap, but thinks that it's better to just sit behind Polasek for now. He jumped on the brakes for a moment. It got a little bit hands-on between the front two, throwing some hip and shoulder at it. The clock's going to hit 0. We're coming back to the checkers, and Yanni trying to repeat his success from Coda a couple of weeks ago.
It's going to come down to the final corner, I think, here, Kyle. That's the best opportunity to be able to make the pass, and Polasek has the speed. The problem is Belleman seems ever more urgent in terms of trying to make the same type of a move on him for second. And if Belleman goes for second, it's all gone. So at this point, Polasek going to have to play major defensive lines in case that one gets a run. That time, coming out of the hairpin, Belleman lost a lot of time, though.
He did lose a lot of time. I wouldn't think it's over yet, though, because these front two are going to go toe-to-toe. How many times between this season and last have we seen these two go head-to-head? I mean, this is the classic battle. Think back to VIR last year in the rain, where Yanni and Polasek were just throwing every jab they could. It was like watching a fencing battle. And through turn 13, Yanni's got to be looking in that rear view and seeing a familiar foe in the trail.
At this point, Polasek just waiting for the chance. We've seen some photo finishes between these two before. No space quite yet for Michael. He knows where he wants to make the pass. Watch him try to set up a good corner exit here for 16 to be able to build up the run.
Great run through 16 for Yanni, but was it better for Polasek? Not really. That was not as good of a run as he needed, and now he's got Belleman in trail. Belleman might just try to go through to second, so Yanni seems pretty safe. Down the backstretch, Ullman straight, and Michael Yanni leads the way over Polasek by half a second.
Polasek having to go defensive here. There's no chance for the lunge here at this point, too far back. Here comes Belleman, still trying to go for the crossover.
Can't do it though. Checkered flag. Is it going to be a run to the stripe? A great run out of the corner. 1, 2, 3 across the stripe. Michael Yanni wins by a car length over Polasek and Belleman in race 1. But look at this mess. Final corner. Castro's going to get turned around. Hibbett takes Darling all the way to the wall. That was pandemonium for a moment. Who gets 4th? Menzies in the 95. Then Townend from 10th to 5th. Nick Yanni, Castro, Darling, Clay Morris, and Camden Hibbett, I think, had a penalty or something on that last lap.
Yeah, he fell back significantly in the running order itself. That was chaotic with that pushing and shoving. But what a race, to say the very least, Kyle. It was aggressive in parts. That start of the race set the tone for the top 3, and the tone ended up becoming ever more aggressive and louder for the end.
Yeah, here's another look at this last corner battle here. Just a squeeze play there. Then the 55 and 32 got hooked together and just ended up getting taken way out wide. That was pretty dramatic, wasn't it? Watch this again as they come together in the last turn.
Yeah, just lost the grip, sent it too deep, trying to send it with how aggressive things were, and that's how Hibbett lost all the spots. Push ball, Darling up, they got hooked up, lost all the momentum for Hibbett, and that opens up the door for drivers like Morris on top of it to be able to just zip on by.
And Blake Townend, watch his move here, just sees everybody scatter to the outside. He drove by 5 drivers there. Good pickup there.
Made it stick, planted it, made the pass. Like I said, you open up the opportunity by just waiting for those doors to open.
Well, here's a look at your race results here for race 1 in the brief moment that we can show them to you before we advance to the next race. Yanni over Polasek by 1/10.5, then Belleman right behind. And that didn't come to the conclusion I thought it would. We didn't see a good enough run leaving turn 16. That shows you that that corner is critical to defend, but it's critical also to have the proper offense there, Justin. So Polasek learned something, and I think Belleman did too.
I think so too, with what they can do for race number 3. It's going to be fun to see what happens, to say the very least, with some of this action. You also have, mind you, drivers like Blake Townend that took advantage of some of the aggressiveness at the very end. Wouldn't be surprised to do better there. Andre Castro also going to be someone that's going to be colliding a lot more aggressively in race number 2.
And there was a warning given by race control to the 2 leaders between Yanni and Polasek to hands off there on that white flag lap as we saw them come together on the front straightaway. That is not what race control wants to see. They don't want people throwing hands for the lead of this race. So that will be the expectation moving into race 2, Justin. But we learned a lot in race 1. What does race 2 hold for us?
I think race 2, it holds the chance for, first things first, if they have not an incident to start things off, I wouldn't be surprised if the draft train is a little bit bigger up at the front of the field. I think second, though, it's going to be where that top 3 in particular that we've seen for race 1 might change hands a fair bit early on, be able to calm things down once again and keep it controlled. They seem to be the most in rhythm with the track to be able to keep things up pace, because yes, you can say a lot about it's a drafting track. It's a drafting track. But if you can't handle the technical parts, it doesn't matter how much you get in draft, because that only equalizes your losses. If you want to really gain, you need to be good in towards where the hard-braking sections are to then extend yourself for that drafting section to where you gain time in general. I think that sets the tone for what we should see and where a lot of these drivers are going to try and improve upon their times for race number 2 today.
Well, you mentioned the technical sections of this racetrack, and it almost sounds like when drivers talk about this being a draft track, they forget also that this is a racecraft track, because the draft is here, it enables everyone around you, yourself included, to make bigger moves. So it's not like you've got a mile-long straightaway coming to the checkers where you just sit in line and draft by them like we're at Daytona or Talladega. And they're not here. You have to not only have the draft, but take advantage of it and use it in the right way, which that run from turn 16 to 17 is not a given that you'll have the advantage there. You have to back up 16, but when you back up 16, you leave yourself vulnerable from behind. So there's a lot going on in these drivers' minds on this last lap, and that's why I'm not convinced that you should wait until that last straightaway to make the move. I think you have to do it sooner, and I think we saw that with Yanni. He made his move with a couple laps to go, and that ended up being the winning move for the race.
Yeah, it definitely, I think, cost him by going too late. Where did all this humidity and fog come from? well, this is going to impact visibility.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like a horror film out there, I'll say. This is just the warm-up period here, though, but again, morning race for race number 2, just like we would in the real world, but the weather does not look as ideal as it did. This is going to change the conditions quite a bit, and it'll change how the race looks, I think, as well.
Yeah, this is going to impact things just a touch bit. The track temperatures were, 100 degrees Fahrenheit in race 1. How about in race 2 for the timing? 77 degrees at the moment. So a lot more grip. It's going to be a lot more grippier in general with how much speed some of these drivers can carry around here as we take a look at the track.
Yeah, and again, with our Continental Track preview, just again, the big topic of discussion was that run through turn 3, 4, and 5. We saw it become a pinch point, and actually, funny enough, that's Paul Darling from last year that got kind of squeezed up onto the curb. Same story here this year. The run down to turn 7, we saw the 98 of Brandon Hawkin get turned around. That ruined his day here. Great overtaking opportunity, but with great power comes great responsibility. Turn 13, we saw a couple incidents there with the number 4. He got looped around, but then turn 16 and building that run. That's something that Polasek didn't do as effectively as he needed to win the race. You have to get set up. That's Belleman in line, that second car there from last year. He almost stole second place away. So a lot to learn from race 1 and what not to do maybe for race 2.
Yeah, it should be an interesting time here to work your way around Sebring yet again. In terms of the speed, it's going to be intriguing who sets up the draft, how people set that draft up to be able to battle around this racetrack, especially in the fogginess. I will say, for those wondering, how does humidity happen in the sim? Well, it's 99% humidity, so that should explain why it's so foggy here for day 2 essentially in session.
That is a lot of humidity, and it, I'll be honest, this does not feel that out of place for Sebring, Florida. It is hot here most of the time, and it's also very, very sticky. So, boy, it is definitely a place that if you've ever been there in the real world, at 6 a.m. you get this air that like you can cut a hole in it, take it home with you if you'd like. You could keep it in a jar. It just gets so thick. It's like Jell-O, but here in the simulator, can't feel it, but you certainly can see all the moisture in the air. 5 seconds left here in the warm-up before our second race, and we're going to grid it up how we finished, which is not good news for drivers like Logan McKenzie and Brendan Hawken, who had poor race ones. But Justin, they're just going to look to basically rebound from their mistakes, and they have 25 minutes to claw their way back forward.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for those drivers, I think, with how much time they lost, especially when you throw into the mix drivers like Hawken going to start from the teens and 18th. You have one who's going to have to work his way outside the top 10 who looked good and qualified at least. This should be interesting to see how this race fares out, though, especially with some of those that are looking to battle from the front.
And again, that lunge down in turn 1, this is the opportunity to make up some spots here early in the chaos, but so will everyone else. You sort of see that yellow dotted line in the center of the screen. That trails you towards the apex, but we're going to see drivers way to the inside of that. And there might also be some questions about Le Mans curve, turn 16. When you head into this corner, here in iRacing, there is no track limit on driver's left on corner entry there. You can track out as wide as you would like, provided that you don't cut turn 15 before it. So that concrete expanse before you turn into this turn, all fair game, and we've seen drivers use that. But I think, Justin, there's big diminishing returns the farther out you go in a 230 horsepower car.
It's going to be, I think, one of those races, too, in general, not to go off topic here, where it's going to be where if you end up playing yourself in terms of over-aggressiveness, it's going to really put you in the back foot. It's been very chitter-chattery, I will say, amongst the competitors here today. In the words of Michael Polasek, something, I want track position, and I want it now, and that's been kind of the mindset for a lot of these drivers today is, give me track position, give me fuel, give me the opportunity to be up front.
Sounds easy, right? I just need some track position, but isn't that what we're here for, Justin? I always love that term because we all know in the racing world what that means. You've got to be positioned a little bit further up the road so that you've got clear racetrack, you've got the ability to make the decisions you want to make, but at the end of the day, track position is what you're in points for. That's what everyone's racing for. So, yeah, we'd all love track position, Michael Polasek, but we know exactly what he means. Start out front, stay out front, and your day gets a lot easier from then on out. Double file, there's your starting lineup on the left-hand side of the screen. Again, as we finished race number 1, Yanni, Polasek, Belleman, Menzies, Townend, and then Nick Yanni in that 24. And there was a couple of warnings that came through about avoidable contact. Remember that the 32 of Camden Hibbett, he got a penalty coming to the checkers for going over the 15x incident limit, and that put him down in 34th place. So he will be a busy boy.
Oh boy, is all you can really say. And that's what happens when you cross the incident limit. A couple drivers in their chitter chatter did mention they're right on the cusp of 15 incident points. And when you have an incident point, and you can't serve it at the end of the race, guess what? You're put to the tail end of the lead lap. And that's what happened to Hibbett because of what happened in that slide at the end of race 1.
Low-hanging fog is really foggy, but just for those that aren't familiar with the iRacing service and how the incidents work, again, this is a league session, so they don't have any effect on your license, but if you go off track, that counts as a 1x. If you make light car contact, it's 0, heavy car contact is 4, and a spin is 2. But there's not a lot of places to go off track here easily without, going way, way, way wide. So I'm willing to bet that those drivers that were close to that incident limit mostly had car contacts. You don't want those. Keep your hands to yourself. You got to play the team sport here. So Camden Hibbett has got to keep his nose clean here in this race if he wants to salvage any points out of this event. Remember, they only pay out to 10th, right? So you have a lot of work to do. 24 spots he's got to earn.
I don't know if he's going to make his way up to 10th. I don't know if he can make their way that far. I mean, Honkin did recover from 28 to 18th over the course of about 10, 15 minutes, but it's easier said than done when you're starting way far back like that.
Yeah, certainly. We'll see how things pan out here. Our second race of round 3. And a reminder that round 4 of the championship takes place at Virginia International Raceway on July 12th. So it'll be a little over 2 months until we'll see this Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League race again, following the real world schedule. But in 2 weeks' time, we go racing for the real series for real here in Sebring. So a little bit less of a gap. But it is time to go racing again for round 3, race 2 of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Michael Yanni, Michael Polsek on the front row. Green flag, and we're underway for race 2.
Keep it clean here through turn 1. Already some drivers going 4 wide in the heart of the field. But right now the tough thing is, how are they going to single file out for turn 1? Make sure they get through without any trouble.
So far so good. They've gotten it sorted down pretty nicely, but turn 3 is the first real pinch point here. A couple cars looking to the grass to try to find a little more room. Nicely done, boys and girls. That was beautiful. And that is, again, the talent on display here in a championship that basically takes the top 40 sim racers in North America. That is hard to do in any context with any kind of car. A clean start at Sebring with a 40-car field.
Exactly the type of start I think the field wanted to see. No major separations as a result. No major time losses. Take a look at the Jim Beaver Esports driver, Nate Stort, able to try and see if he gains some time. Nate Stort had started this race in 12, but Blake Townend, I will say, in front of him, is falling right back into his lap, already a -4 into the conversation for a battle.
Yeah, not the start that he needed there, and we're actually clean through turn 7 as well, so very impressed with the start of this race, but we're not in the clear yet. A little bit of dicey moments back here with 077 David Macaretta, Camden Hibbett. He's up a couple of spots here early, chasing Tadas Litkis, another one of the new drivers here this week, getting a baptism at speed here, I'd say, at Sebring. So through turn 13, Tower, things are looking tidy so far. Have to say I'm impressed. Well, as I said that, there goes a car. It's John Lausenoff at 13.
Stopping his day, to say the very least at this point. That's all you can really say. But up front, it's going to be the question, do we see things start to get a little bit battle-y right from the get-go? Bellman seemed very comfortable as the leader before. A lot of people using the incident points. At least a car length and a half off for some of those drivers in the grass as the top 2 get a buffer.
Yeah, that's no fun running wide at 16. Big wide rumble strip that'll rattle your teeth out. You go any further than that, you go for a ride through the red dirt there. So that's a moment. Here's Blake Townend under fire from Nate Stort through Sunset Bend.
Talked about the opportunity was building up. Nate Stort so far, up and down so far in the NASCAR competition. Able to make the move this time around. So it's going to be the matter of, can he handle things defensively? Stort so far up a +3 now with that move.
See if Townend can tuck underneath on corner exit, do the crossover here. Classic move at Sebring when such a long radius corner. Moves over. Nate Stort isn't able to defend it yet, and Townend will have to give it up. But nice clean battle there. A little bit deeper in the field. This is for about 20th spot. Cole Hooper, Ian Brown, Aaron Smith, Chris Wetz, Andrew Sharp, and more back here.
Just a little bit chippy. How they're handling things out. We do have a warning interest right up as see the top of the screen. The 83, Ian Brown picked it up. Looks like he didn't follow the start procedure with the race start. I believe he was one of the people trying to go 4 wide in the down the start and finish straight.
That might be why he got the warning. Again, you're not allowed to deviate from your column until you get to the start line, but it was probably not egregious enough to pick up a penalty, but that'll be a warning that he'll have to remember in 2 months' time when we come back to VIR, because he's managed to escape penalty at least this time through. Now, should we get a yellow flag, that would be something that we'd be looking out for there as well. Wan Shi Lin rebounding after an incident in race 1, past Michael Montello in the 65. Michael had a really tough couple of rounds in this Lazy Rocket final car. In the early openers, just got caught up in some collisions. Really just looking to get some consistent runs underneath him here at around Lake Illinois, local to me here in Chicago. A little contact there with, I think that's Cole Hooper. 3 wide.
Oh, 3. That's not going to fare out well. That's a little bit tight. Somebody's going to have to back out of this. How close the contact's going to be here for the braking zone. And that's the tough thing. You cannot make it stick without risking an incident. Cole Hooper obviously not happy with that type of a pass, but it was about keeping it clean. Too much curb.
Yeah. Well, and you see Michael Montello ran wide at the exit. It's going to stack up this field. Andrew Sharp in that white and blue 88 is going to pop out to the inside as well. This is all for about 20th spot. They are racing hard back here. That was not the camera I was looking for. That's the one I was looking for, down in turn 17. Big wide arc at Sunset Bend, and then bouncing over the bumps all the way out to the wall and onto the front straight.
Right now, Ian Brown just playing defense 3 wide yet again. Andrew Sharp, he's been very quiet all round so far. Only went up 6 spots in race 1. He runs league races with this type of a car. Just got his nose sawed off as Hooper. He's having 3 wide underneath him again.
And here comes the 57 to the, or 51 rather. That's Brett Gardner, Tech Sport car, sneaking up the inside. That was a nice pass there, but he's going to lose momentum after kind of bouncing awkwardly off the curbing. And Cole Hooper will pull and draw even alongside. There's Charles Wimbley in the number 3 in trail as well.
A JRS entry. Oh, that might be borderline. He's just about bump drafting. How close he is to Andrew Sharp. Sharp just about got pushed on through as a result of that near contact. That was close to a warning there. Remember, you cannot lock bumpers in this series.
Yeah, but can't just lock on and hang tough there. That is true. So 5 second to the 27 car. That is Zachary Coonan for incident on lap 1, turn 13. Wimbley spins out of Cunningham there. I didn't see how that started. Let's have another look.
Yeah, dive to the inside, send it a little bit deep, but yet again, hits the curb, picks the right side tires up as they grip roll just about over, and that costs Wimbley all his time.
Yeah, unfortunate there, just got too much of the curbs here. You can use some of them, some are bigger than others, some are flatter than others. But up front, it is effectively a 9-car field at the pointy end here. Yanni Belleman, Polasek Menzies, Nick Yanni, they haven't changed. Castro, Darling, Lozano, and Stewart are also in this fight.
Looks like they're playing less about, oh, let's change this lead like a deck of cards, going back and forth, picking different cards. No, we're going to just go and run it similar, it seems. Wait until the later stages, pace yourself, and then go. These drivers making sure they don't cook the tires either. We talked about the conversation before race 1. If you're trying to battle uber aggressively, try to go late braking, try and set it in every corner, that can end up building up your tire temperatures, and it looks like these drivers trying to make sure they keep those tires also at bay in this draft terrain.
Everyone looking very patient at the front. Same can't be said about the second group behind Miguel Colon, Blake Townend, and the 57 is just dropping like a rock here. Not the race that he was hoping for after a strong result in race 1. Not sure if he's gotten muscled out of the way or not, but car looks pretty clean.
Yeah, not bad. But we've seen him already drop back a fair bit here, all the way to outside the points. Gianni Lynn went for a block. How about an aggressive set? That is a crowbar set on Cologne with the set.
And they're going to be 3 abreast for a brief moment with Lynn taking to the grass. That was a dicey moment. Just getting a little physical here. Hip and shoulder, jabbing elbows into the rib cage, leaving that hairpin turn. Oh boy, these 3 are just trying to put cars in places they do not fit.
Yeah, at that time, Cologne earlier braking. Oh, and Townend got the elbow and a spin in front of them.
That's Kevin Roll right into the racetrack. Gets clobbered. Huge impact in turn there, and that's going to draw the safety car out. Huge crash at Tower Turn, and this field is going to get under control of the safety car there, and for exactly this reason, cars littered over tower turn. What a hit for Kevin Rold.
Yeah, that all started after Hawken tried to make a move. Rold just bounced off of him and ends up spinning across the track. The top thing is it's corrected right into traffic, and that is a smack and a half for Rold.
Yeah, just again, try to get it locked down, but remember these cars have ABS, so it's not immediately going to lock. You see the wheel stop turning, and then right there, huge hit. And that's what drew the safety car here. Only the second one we've seen in GR Cup eSports history, the other coming in automated fashion at Sonoma. This is going to change things up here a little bit for the race leaders. Now, we'll probably get a pretty quick yellow here, so it's not going to take up too much time, but it will bunch the field back up. And Yanni, Belliman, and Polasek will have to get prepped for a restart here shortly.
That's why holding the brakes is so critical in that situation. That's why making sure you don't correct back up into the track is so important. Our second caution in series history here, just like that. Our second caution in 3 race days. And now, that urgency level is definitely going to 100% be high now in this lead pack in theory, once they restart this race here in the next few minutes.
Yeah, and again, this is a long pace lap here, so I imagine that we're not going to get very many of these. The minimum, I think, is 2. But Michael Yanni and Belliman lead this race. It's going to give a couple of drivers some great opportunities here. How about Jake Cummings in the number 97? He started this race in 16th. He's made it up to 11th with a top 10 right on his front doorstep here for Tech Sport Racing. This is a great rebound after running well at COTA, not getting the results he deserved after a spin on the last lap.
I think so far he's achieved his goal too, hasn't really slid tires all that much. He didn't get a qualifying effort, as we talked about early on, Kyle, but since then has just chipped away. +8 in the last race, +5 now. He's got a pretty big smile on his face, I think, right now, as he gets set here for a restart soon. It's just going to be the matter of how does he play things, knowing the 28's uber aggressive on their defenses.
So we'll likely have under 10 minutes of racing remaining when we get back to green. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on the front runners here. How about a late race restart? We've had a couple of these in the Real World Series this year already as well, and they've always put on a pretty thrilling show. And for Michael Yanni, he's won the last 3 races. The first one here tonight, and then the previous 2 that happened at Circuit of the Americas not too long ago. So he is in a prime position to walk out of here. Pretty stout lead in the championship standings.
It was a question last year with him missing some races last year. What would have been like in the championship if he was there all the time? We're seeing so far the answer so far with what he's been able to do in this series this season. Now the tough thing's going to be, when does Belliman try and make a jump with what we're expecting here once we get going here for the restart? Because Belliman's going to have to set things up pretty quickly. In all things considered, remember Polasek took second because of that switch of hands up front.
Yeah, going back to the crash that brought out this yellow, this was the hit that Miguel Colon took. Boy, that is like a jump scare. And he likely couldn't really expect this to happen. And here's his on board right here through the smoke, just carrying too much speed to do anything about. That was just a nasty impact. And he really didn't have anywhere to go and got the worst of it for sure. Actually took the brunt of the impact for Townend and Lynn, because they were going to hit that car too. See Townend now on the pit lane, likely to try to repair some of that damage.
Just short of the caution. So it's now this time by going to be the restart. I believe Townend's going to have a long time in pit road at least because he's got chassis damage, but this should leave us by the time we get around with about maybe 8 minutes to go, give or take, on the clock. Give or take?
Yeah, I think you're about right with that. It took us 3 minutes and 30 seconds to do the last pace lap, and so it'll likely be 8 minutes, maybe just a little under that. And And so we're going to gear up for what is going to be probably the most intense final few minutes that we've had at Sebring in this championship. And if you caught last year's race, it was pretty intense. But we didn't have 34 cars line astern on a restart with under 7 minutes remaining. Who else is in this mix? Paul Darling, by the way. His night did not start the way that he had hoped. But 8th place finish in race 1, and he sits 7th in race 2 right now, right behind Andre Castro, another driver that maybe we expected a little bit more performance out of tonight, but he has been busy fending off people in the rear view.
Yeah, it's had to get the elbows out several times over with how things have gone. And that's the tough thing. The more you have to defend, the more time you lose. The more time you lose, more frustration that can build up in a race like this. It's been chippy, to say the very least, in his case here. Race 2. Now he's running out of time to be able to try and make up ground after being as high as 4th here today.
So the field getting ready to restart here. And again, this is going to set the tone for the summer break, because when we come back to VIR, that racetrack looks a lot different. It's not very wide. It does not have a lot of pavement. And we have over 2 months until we go racing again to basically do the second half of our championship. That'll be round 4 of 7. And then we visit Road America, Barber, and Indianapolis to finish off the season a week prior to the real world counterpart race. So it'll be VIR in, see the wipers going there on the 23. Not anticipating any rain, but just getting everything cleaned up for the restart. But VIR in July, Road America in August, Barber in September, and Indianapolis in October. With our next eSports round July 12th, our next Real World Championship race for Toyota GR Cup North America, May 16th to 18th, just about 2 weeks from now. Predictions?
I'm predicting a lot of back and forth in about a couple minutes time, in particular up front. I know how generic that may sound, but I'm expecting things, once they get coiled up down the open straight, to really heat up for this race lead, especially with Bellman wanting to try and get some matching points here to go back and forth with Michael Yanni on points.
Here we go, 8 minutes remaining in round 3, race 2 of the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League. Yanni, Belleman, Polasek, your top 3. Green flag back in the air. 8 minutes to go. We're back underway.
Already some fatting out. Polasek having to play some defense, because a great start from the 95 and 24 really set things up to try and make some moves. Nick Yanni wants to go for the pass.
Yeah, Belleman got a nice restart there, trails Yanni, but it's definitely side by side behind them. Paul Darling now on the attack of Andre Castro there, the 34, a little bit late to the turn in. Nice, pretty clean restart in trail. There's Wan Shi Lin trying to get to the outside of Ian Brown, Brandon Hawkins, Jake Cummings, sorting themselves out now on the run down to the hairpin.
Big correction there for Nick Yanni to check things up, though. This point, drivers don't have time to make mistakes. There's no room for error. Nate Stewart, 3 wide, 4th spot.
Watch the contact there, a little 3 abreast. The 34 had some contact with Yanni, but Nate Stewart has 5th place. Got himself in trouble at the tail end of the COTA round, but he's been fast all season long, and he's going to show it now with the climb into the top 5 late in this show. Started in 12th, that's where he finished race 1, a top 5 on the horizon. Now maybe a podium if he can finish this off. Oh no, big slip, and Castro's going to bang fenders with him, and Castro's off course.
That wasn't pretty whatsoever. Nate Stewart on the side-by-side was squeezed all the way onto the curbing and on 2 tires. Hit the side of Castro's door, but as that's all gone on, the top 4 have pulled away this time.
Yeah, that's what they would like to see. They don't want to deal with anybody else coming up into this picture. Thomas Belleman is hounding Yanni for the race lead right now. Nice lines here through Jean de Bienne and into turns 15 and 16. Some sparks flying from the under trays, dragging on these tall concrete curbs. Does Belleman make a move here?
Huge question. I would do it if I was him, but yet again, wants to wait 1 more lap, maybe leave it to what would be about 2 or 3 laps to go, essentially. thinking about things as it's 3 wide. Some other people are not waiting.
Look at this. That's the 51 of Brett Gardner right in the middle. A couple of tech sport cars in this mix, and he's going to power through somehow. There's the 83, Ian Brown, 4 wide in Sunset Bend.
Ian Brown's been everywhere defensively. Oh, that was near wall contact. So far, Brown up near double-digit spots. Hibbett, he's trying to battle for the points. 4 wide still.
Yeah, this is not good, though. If you got to get the sort of contact right in front of Hibbett. Hibbett misses it, but it's Mauricio Lozano that got tagged and drops down a handful of positions.
Good save to make sure it didn't get collected. Here we go. Polasek for second. Got the elbows down. Sent it on Pellman.
That's exactly what Michael Yanni wanted to see. Let's go back and catch the replay of that because we were watching the other battles here. Side by side leaving turn 1. Polasek gets down there and sort of use Bellman up just a little bit at 5 right here. And that gave Yanni a 1 second advantage, and you best believe he's going to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, this lead, I think, is going to close up in the drafting sections here. We've seen this last time. It's going to be difficult, but it leaves Polasek in a bind where he's going to have to go in the last lap or so. The time to catch back up. More crashes.
Yeah, Chris Wetz is involved in this one. I think I might have seen that there was 34 also involved here. This is leaving turn 7. Cole Hooper gets tagged one way, the 71 the other, and just a big melee leaving turn 7. There's 5-6 cars involved in that, but we'll stay green there. They all managed to pull away with the exception of the 91 of Wetz. His day is over, and the safety car's back out again.
That might end the race. That's a late caution.
It will end the race. And that was just, there was too many cars scattered everywhere. And what a mess leaving turn 7. Go back again. And there was even more. I mean, the 6 car, Cole Hooper, the whole other side of this incident. Right there.
Yep. And Hooper able to hold on to it, and everybody stacks up like Legos, cuts to the grass. A couple cars stopped on the racetrack. I think the amount of cars stopped, including some in the runoff areas, might have been the reason we triggered the caution flag with so many stopped cars there.
Yep, and so the yellow flag is out, but with 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go, I think we could be coming back to a checkered, and that was an iRacing automatic yellow flag, and probably for good reason. And that is going to save Michael Yanni. He had a big enough advantage, though, Justin, that I don't know that Polasek was going to get back to him without a lot of luck.
I think they were going to close up by the final lap, Kyle, because that happened the last time. We've seen Bellman pull away by nearly a second, but we're in a spot where we'll likely never know with this safety car.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes, and the big mess at the back, it brought out our second safety car of the race. And again, we will not get a restart. And the question now just becomes, are we going to come back to the checkers this time? You don't need to have the white flag displayed to get the checker. We've actually seen that play out a couple of times in the real world. But for Michael Yanni, I mean, we talked about him missing a couple races last season, and it definitely changed the outlook of the championship. But the way he's been driving this season, he has looked so much more dominant. He got a couple wins whisked away from him in the final moments through the mid-season of last year, and it sort of broke him. He was just not stoked about how the races were finishing, with Polasek kind of sniping out from underneath him. And this year, Coda was a dominant performance. This one maybe not dominant, but no one really was able to take the fight to him at the tail end of race 1, and he was set to do something similar here in race 2.
Yanni's been extremely sporty all throughout the season. I think extremely happy. That's all you can really say. It looks to be very chill. Chill guy, as some would say in terms of the meme reference, but he, so far throughout the day, has kind of showcased quite simply why he's been a top driver in this series. He knows how to drive the track. He knows to keep composed. He keeps ice cool. He's like the Iceman when it comes to being able to stay very chill in the cockpit. He doesn't let the emotions build up, doesn't overexert the battles, knows where to pick his spots. There's a reason some of that experience comes in. He races outside the series with teams like Coanda, which is a very big team on iRacing, mind you, in fact, one of the OG organizations. So the speed is there, and for Polasek, it's the matter of what could I have done if this stayed green for an extra 4 minutes?
Yeah, it will not, though, and we will run the clock out this time through. And Michael Yanni, in the number 23, is going to walk away with a handsome pile of points in the PT Autosport by Copeland Motorsport, number 23. And I don't know if this momentum is going to transfer to Zach Hollingshead in the real-world car, but man, has it looked good for PT Autosport as of late in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. And after the final couple of corners here, are we going to get a checkered? I don't see a checker this time, but maybe they'll go around one more. I'll have to check with race control for that. I was expecting it with the clock hitting 0, but maybe they'll let it have another one.
I think so. I think they're going to have to go in airtime.
I wonder if this is a side effect of the way that these sessions are run effectively as iRacing's heat races. And so because the clock hit 0, you would typically anticipate a checker here. But they'll just go another 3.7 miles and have it regardless.
Hey, it allows us more opportunity to talk about the race cars.
It sure does. And, you know, how about we have to bring out a couple more points of attention. Brandon Hawken in the number 98, 18th to 8th in his climb. I mean, what a drive for Brandon in this car. Again, race 1 did not go the way that he was hoping for, but race 2, he'll grab some points, just a few, but I think he'll have to be happy with that. And Camden Hibbett, not back into the points, but 34th to 12th has to be the climb of the day, I'd have to say.
Yeah, that a really good drive. If it stayed green, probably was going to be in the points. Great recovery from the incidents that took him out of the points to end race 1. But this round probably going to be his drop round here, Kyle. Or at least one of the races is going to be a drop with how things have turned out for him.
I think you're right about that. So great run there for the 32 at Camden Hibbett. How about Andrew Sharp, also the 88 driver we don't typically talk about, but 21st to 13th, not a bad day for him either. That Rapid Theft eSports car. But we now had the white flag displayed from the start stand a little bit late, although it's still showing a yellow, but we're hearing it's white.
All right. So it's just a matter of finishing out the pace lap here for Michael Yanni. Yeah. So I think for Polasek, he's kind of wishing that it was 2 to green, to say the least.
Yeah, we ran the clock out of time, though, so that will be it. And so folks might wonder, I'm sure there's many folks that are wondering, why run full course yellows? You don't need to. It's a sim world where, you know, the cars auto clean up and there's no real danger. But the reason why, and we've elected to do this intentionally per the rules, is to prevent the situation where you have a wreck on the racetrack that people are inclined to throttle through. You don't want to create a situation in an esports championship where people are throttling into wrecks because they'll give up time if they slow down for them. So the idea of having the safety cars be an option is that it forces drivers to know that if there's a big wreck that will force them to lift, they're not going to be penalized for it. They'll get a chance to reset behind the safety car. Unfortunately, sometimes, just like the real world, that means that it will bring the field back to the checkered flag under control of the safety car. This is the first time we've ever had this happen in 2 years, but it will be the first time it happens. There's a first time for everything, and there is a fourth time for Michael Yanni to win here this year, 2025, round 3. It's a Michael Yanni sweep in the number 23 PT Autosport car at the front of the field.
Yeah, Great day for Michael Yanni in general when it comes to his speed. Backed it up yet again. What he was able to do, another sweep of a round by one of our top contenders.
Wow, job well done. And we will have our podium drivers to chat with here in a few moments' time. I'm sure they'll have lots to say about at least the tail end of the first race here. But before we do that, let us have a look here at our race results. Here, again, unofficial race results for our third round of the championship. This is race number 2. And it's Michael Yanni once again at the pointy end.
Yeah, Polsek went for his moves with a couple laps to go, but ran out of time because of the time of the caution flag. Thomas Bellman yet again passed on by in the closing stages after controlling the pole initially. Several drivers just wanted the chance to be able to pounce and make their way ahead. You also have to give a shout out to that 95 machine. Menzies able to go from 9th to 4th and then be able to hold on to the lead pack once he got there, Kyle, throughout the day today.
Yeah, he did a nice job today, didn't he? Just a solid top 5 results there. Paul Darling, again, that day could have gone so much worse if he had gotten turned around backwards in race 1. So he'll salvage a couple of top 10s. Maybe not the performances he was hoping for, but at least he'll have some points to look back on, which is more that can be said about drivers like Andre Castro, 37th unofficially in this one after getting caught up in a collision. Brendan Hawken from deep in the field up to 8th place. Jake Cummins in the number 97 for Tech Sport Racing got a top 10, so a nice rebound there. Camden Hibbett, 12th from 34th on the grid. One of the most impressive drives we've seen as of late.
Yeah, very impressive recovery where if it stayed green, might have been in the points conversation, I think. It's what was able to do. Logan McKenzie also had a good recovery too, all the way down in 20th position there. He started 35th after his crash after a top 10 qualifying run to start the day. Some great recovery drives for some of the other drivers. It's going to be back to the drawing board and hoping that the store has enough drawing boards to be able to direct them the right way they want to go.
Well, we've got our second place finisher here twice over, Michael Polsek, joining us now. P2 tonight in the number 45, Michael, and unfortunately didn't really get a chance to get up there and get in the mix coming to the checkers of race number 2 because that late full course yellow, but job well done. Some good points on the day, just not P1. Take us back to race 1 and that battle there with Michael Yanni and how things kind of turned around on you. What more could you have done to get that race victory?
Unfortunately, we went 3 wide down the front straight after I made a move on Thomas Bellman for P2. And then Michael Yanni told me that he didn't realize we were 3 wide. He doored me and 4X'd me. And unfortunately, that put me on 14X. And unfortunately, I just could not attack anymore because if I made contact and he went off the track, or if I got off track at turn 16, which is why I had to take it so conservatively, I would have gotten a drive-through and that would have been my season over. So unfortunately, I just had to take what I could get and secure the P2. And it's really unfortunate that iRacing threw that yellow. I don't really understand why it was thrown 30 seconds after everybody wrecked. But without that, it would have been a very exciting finish. I'm not really sure who would have come out on top. But it's always great racing with Thomas and Michael. They're both very respectful drivers to race with. And the series is a lot of fun. I always enjoy coming out to these.
Well, it's going to be a little bit of a break till we have our next one because the next race is July 12th at VIR. But last year, we won't have this again, but we had a wet race at VIR where you and Yanni had one of the most exceptional sim racing battles I've ever watched. How excited are you to go back to the 3.2-mile racetrack up in Alton, Virginia?
Well, I'm a lot happier it's not going to be wet. Driving on that track in those conditions was treacherous, to say the least. There's a lot of randomness that can really affect your car and potentially kill you if you're not careful. And I actually got the opportunity to test out a Tech Sport GR86 Cup car. Thank you to Devin Anderson for the opportunity. And this track in that car is a lot of fun. Very challenging, and with the draft that these cars have, it's going to be another one of these very close, exciting pack races.
Thanks so much, Michael, and congratulations. 2 nice podiums for you. We'll see you in July at VIR.
Thank you very much.
All right, and Thomas Bellman, a couple of podiums tonight in the number 3. Thomas, not quite the P1s that you were hoping for. Led some good laps in race 1 in particular, but P3 tonight, good points. But take us through your battles there with the Michaels.
Yeah, no, it was a good day today. Unfortunately, we didn't come out with the win, so unfortunate that way. But yeah, no, it was trying to keep the lead both races. Unfortunately, the slipstream is so strong, you just can't find a way out of it. So it's all about racecraft in the last 2 laps, and didn't play the way I wanted to when I wanted to cut back in race 1. But and then with however it ended in race 2, it is what it is. But we're pretty happy with the 2 P3s.
Well, it was a strong run there. We've got VIR next up on the calendar. You're grabbing some great points there. Michael Yanni has obviously begun to kind of eke out ahead in the championship. So what's the goal here? How are you going to plan to get some of those points back when we head to Virginia in a couple of months?
Yeah, I think Virginia is definitely one of my strong tracks, so I think we'll do a lot better there for sure. But it's going to be about making sure we practice a lot of racecraft this time. It's what I've been noticing, especially after today with all these draft tracks. It's making sure you put the car in the right place to end off the last lap in first place. So we're going to practice on that, make sure the pace is there, and get ready for VIR.
Thomas Belleman, P3 tonight in both races. Thomas, congratulations, and we'll see you there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Michael Yanni, as he did in Austin, Texas a couple of weeks ago, gets it done here in Sebring, Florida. Michael, congratulations. Race 2. Got a little bit of a gift there at the end, not having to hold off Michael Polasek and Thomas Belleman, but I'm sure you would have liked to have raced it out the old-fashioned way. Take us through your night here in your number 23 PT Autosport car.
For sure. Bit unexpected. I knew the competition was going to be really stiff this week, especially with the draft. And it's really just like pack racing, almost like NASCAR style. And so I guess going into it, I was happy starting third because I knew I could kind of slot myself into second off the race start in race 1. And then I think, just it kind of worked out. I didn't really plan for any like long-term thing when I overtook Thomas in race 1. It just kind of worked out. And yeah, I mean, race 2 is a bit weird. I've never finished an iRacing race under yellow. So that was a little weird. Well, I guess on the road side, of course. But I mean, yeah, I thought I had enough of a gap to maybe keep it. But obviously once they get into like 0.8, 0.7, it's like they're just back under bumper. So I had about a 1.1 second gap, I think, before the yellow came out, and I was trying to push a bit to see if I could maintain that, but in all likelihood they would have caught up. And yeah, I mean, especially in race 1, like I got a bit lucky for sure with turn 1. On going into the last lap, I just didn't even realize we were 3 wide, and I kept kind of going to the right to try to like open up the corner. I'm like, why am I bouncing off Polasek? I'm glad it obviously didn't result in anything else, and obviously I can be a bit more aware next time. But yeah, overall good week, good for the championship, and I guess we'll move forward with a bit of a break.
Justin, anything for Michael?
I was going to say here, you mentioned some of the chippiness around the racetrack. How difficult is it in general to make sure you plot and plan the right moves, especially knowing, in your case in race 1, you had to plot and plan to be able to find your way up front. How was it trying to think about how you made those moves here today with the nature of this racetrack?
It's a bit of a guessing game, really. We were all working together, but once the first move happens, everything just kicks off, and it's going to just be back and forth. It reminded me a lot of a car race where like I could go for the move, but maybe if I do, then I just fall back even further. And yeah, I knew I could maybe go for it and make it stick. And ultimately when I tried it, it worked. And then just head forward from that point on and hope for the best. And I didn't have to defend, but I had a plan going in where if he was able to catch me out of like, I guess going to the back straight, really, I was going to defend on the inside and just kind of park it a bit and try to keep him on that outside. But yeah, it's kind of hard to think, honestly, with how intense these races are. I don't really have much time to plan ahead.
Michael Yanni wins both races tonight at Sebring. Carries great momentum into VIR. We talked to Michael Polasek about that epic battle last year in the rain. Won't be repeated in the wet this time, we suppose, but we're looking forward to watching you guys go to battle again, toe-to-toe in Alton, Virginia. Thanks for talking to us. Congratulations, and we'll see you in July.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, Justin, what a race today. A little bit of drama there at the end with the full course yellow kind of mixing things up. We've never had that situation before at the tail end of a Toyota GR Cup North America eSports race, but once again, to kind of keep things things as realistic as possible. When there's a crash, you got to slow the field up so that you don't incentivize driving through it at the speed of light. But Michael Yanni was able to parlay that to 2 victories, 4 consecutive in this championship. It's looking a whole lot like Marco Polasek's championship season from last year.
Yeah, already gaining momentum, it seems, for Michael Yanni when it comes to the season, when he's been able to keep at bay the rest of the drivers, but better yet, being able to have some good speed up at the front of the field. I think it's going to be tough to beat Michael Yanni with what he's been able to do. Polasek has been put in more in a box this season, it seems, compared to last season where he's able to drive and take control. So right now for Yanni, he's looking very comfortable with how things have gone so far.
Well, it's been a fantastic race day here from Sebring International Raceway. The Real World Series has their 3rd round of the championship May 16th to 18th right here at Sebring. The next round of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports Championship is going to be July 12th at Virginia International Raceway. From Justin Prince and Kyle Heyer, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.